recommendations on your LinkedIn profile really a thing? They absolutely are. These are something that you certainly want to use as a business owner, as someone who is selling or recruiting. Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Lindsay Mitrasilis. I'm a LinkedIn coach, mentor, expert, and agency owner. Today, I want to talk to you about how to leverage those recommendations at the very bottom of your profile and why they are so important for leads and sales. So if you feel like recommendations are that random little thing at the bottom of your profile and you're not leveraging them, let me tell you something, you are definitely missing out. One thing we know to be true as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as sales leaders, and those in the recruiting space is it's really about what people say about us, not what we say about ourselves. People really need that social proof in order to buy our products or services or continue or choose to work with us. This is where recommendations comes in perfectly. Now, most of this channel is really about how to leverage LinkedIn from a leads and sales perspective. That could be as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, or as a recruiter, which I always say is it's all sales, right? All of those things are sales related. And so we want to take a look at our recommendations a little differently than how do I use recommendations to help me go get another job. I have a 3-part framework for you to consider when reaching out to people in order to get a recommendation. Let me ask you this. Have you ever asked for a testimonial or a recommendation from someone that has worked with you? You either gave them some services or a product or something of that nature, and you wanted that social proof from them because they had a really great experience. But when you got the testimonial back, it was just talking about how awesome you were and how life-changing it was to work with you. But there really wasn't any tangible changes that they shared. And while we feel like those are very high compliments, and they are, they don't really tell someone who might be considering working with us how we actually transform their life or change their business, fill in the blank, with the things that matter to the potential buyer. This 3-part framework is going to help you really guide your current clients and customers to give a solid testimonial back to someone who would be considering working with you or buying from you. Let's talk about leaving a recommendation or requesting a recommendation from a client on your LinkedIn profile. So here's what your LinkedIn profile looks like from your point of view. You're going to scroll all the way down where the recommendations section is, and let me just walk you through kind of what this looks like. So here are all the recommendations that you have received. These are the ones that you have given. Now, if you want to edit any of these, you can click on that pencil and you can turn them on or off. You can click the pencil and ask them to maybe change some aspect of the recommendation, whatever you'd like to do. You can do that there. These are the ones, again, that you have given yourself, and then there are any that have been pending. So maybe you've requested one and this person hasn't sent one back or something like that. So that's kind of what the overall recommendations look like. Now, when it comes to giving a recommendation or requesting one, which is what we're really looking for here as business owners, we'd click the plus sign right here and you'd ask for a recommendation. You're going to type the person's name of the person you're looking for a recommendation from and just follow the prompts. So relationship, typically you guys worked together, maybe she was a client of yours, so that's what you would put, and your current company. And this is what I recommend changing right here. We want to include a personalized message that gives our clients a little bit of structure as to what we're looking for this recommendation. How many of us have asked for a recommendation or a testimonial or a win from a client, and their response back was, oh my gosh, Sally was so awesome to work with. I just love her. She changed my life, which is such a high compliment. However, it doesn't give our ideal clients and our leads a good sense of how we work together and what wins they had. So I have this personalized message already ready to go. And this is the framework I recommend when you send a recommendation request to a client. Obviously, send a little personal note. Give them a heads up that a recommendation request is coming through on LinkedIn. But the questions that we want to add here are, where were you before we started working together in your entrepreneur journey, in your business journey, whatever product or service you offer, something related to that. So where were you before we started working together? Were you frustrated? Were you overwhelmed? In that sense, were you totally lost? Were things a mess in your business or whatever product or service you provide? I know that with Shannon, we did a LinkedIn optimization for her. So I know that this is the question I wanted to ask her. The second question we want to ask are, what are the wins or the accomplishments you had because we worked together? That's what we really want to know. Did you make $5,000? Did you feel more aligned and optimized? Were things more streamlined? Whatever it might be that you help people with in their business or with your product or service. And then the third question we want to ask is, well, how do you feel now? Now that the project is over, now that you've got the product in your hands, how do you feel now? And finally, the fourth question, how would you describe to someone what it's like to work with me? And this really gives someone the opportunity of, wow, this person was so life-changing, they really helped me in my business, or their product helped me with XYZ. And then you would send it off and it would send directly to your client. Now, one thing you need to remember is that recommendations can only come through LinkedIn. You cannot ask them via email and upload them for them. They have to be sent directly through their LinkedIn. For example, if then you wanted to send a recommendation for someone else, you would click give a recommendation, and maybe I wanted to give one back. And I would go through this process the same. I was a client of hers in this position as she was the CEO and founder of her company. And then I would write my recommendation here and I would send it off. And then she would receive it on her end and she would make it go live and all those things. So that is how you request a recommendation, and my suggestion and how you get a very thorough recommendation from your clients, and then how you would also send one. One thing to know, you cannot reach out to someone indirectly on LinkedIn, meaning you can't send them an email or a text to get their recommendation and then you post it yourself on LinkedIn. Everything has to go through LinkedIn in order for it to show up on your LinkedIn profile as a recommendation. So now that you know how to ask for a recommendation, here is the 3-part framework. The first thing, we want our current client or customer or previous client and customer to share with us is, where were they before they started working with us? Meaning, where were they at in life or business? What was their struggle and frustration? What could they not figure out because they hadn't started working with us yet? The second thing is, we want to know what wins they got during our time together. How did they succeed? What kind of money did they make because they started working with you? How did their business transform or their life transform? We really want to get specific. Let's say they made $5,000 in their first month of working with you. We want to know those tangible numbers. So we want to make sure that in that ask, we're very clear by saying, hey, please share any wins that you had during our time together if you don't already know them. If you know them, it'd be good to note that in there. For example, when you made $5,000 our first month together, or the 8 candidates you found for your client, whatever it might be, you fill that in for them. But we want to make sure they are very clear on what it is you're asking when it comes to the wins in which they got while they were working with you. And then the third thing I like to say is, what would you tell someone if you were recommending me to someone else? So we want to know what they would say. And typically that's where they get to say, like, wow, working with so-and-so was so awesome. And we want to get all that emotion and that feel in there for sure. But this again helps us kind of sandwich between what that actual real win was for our customer or our client. Give this framework a try, get those recommendations out on LinkedIn, and let me know how that works for you. If you enjoyed this video, please like below, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you share this with anyone you know looking to leverage LinkedIn for lead sales, audience building, marketing, and brand awareness.